Good afternoon. We're going to call this budget workshop into order. Today is August the 18th, 2026, and I'm going to turn it over to Bruce.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate everyone being here. We'll start with the first sheet in the booklet. Tracy just recapped that our budget hearings are scheduled for the first one for September 9th and the final one is for September 15th. With Clay not being here, we do need to confirm with him about the timing of how we're going to put that in the newspaper because of the Funiac Herald we are publishing on Wednesdays. It's going to be tight to get that publication out in time for the final hearing. So we'll run that by him, make sure that we get it on the website, get it out there in the Northwest Daily News in time for that. Okay. The budget highlights, these are just a recap of some of the changes that we've made since the last workshop. Under the general fund revenue sources, we haven't set a budget for it, but one of the things that we wanted to do was set a new account, create a new account for the protected tree and sidewalk buyout. That can be a significant amount on an annual basis. So we'd like to create an account where we can record when that does happen. And of course, we had a big one when Walmart occurred. So we'd like to have a separate account for that and just capture the actuals, and then we can use that on an ongoing basis if we want to start budgeting for that. The Department of Revenue, they held a conference on the 14th. They're in the process of updating their revenue estimates. I checked again today. They have 3 of all their revenue estimates out there today, and that's the good thing is it's an increase. So let's hope all the different items continue to increase, and I'll continue to monitor that and update the revenue numbers as we get closer to the actual budget hearing and let you know if those numbers should change. Okay. All right, and if I may, with Clay here, Clay, we wanted to go back on the budget hearings. What we have scheduled is September 9th and then on September 15th. Our concern is we can get the notices out and the ads out to the Funiac Herald in time for both. However, there is a possibility that the 9th would have some final number changes, and that's what we'd have to put in the paper prior to the 15th. So we wouldn't have time to get it into the Funiac Herald. So because of the timing when they publish, we'd like to put it in the Northwest Daily News and into the ad for the Herald, advertise that they can then go to the website in advance of the final budget hearing and be watching for the Daily News so that we would be able to advertise those numbers.
We can't do that.
We cannot?
No, I also would highly discourage us from trying to do advertisements that are split, meaning we do one meeting advertising one paper, one and another. That creates inconsistency.
Okay.
We're required to use newspaper general circulation, while Florida legislature's allowed us to do different things online and otherwise in the last few years. My recommendation is to do it all in Daily News at this point.
Okay.
And I would not put in, and I would, unfortunately, I have to say I would not put anything in the Herald, not because I don't want to advertise the Herald, but you're now doing an ad in the Herald that says, go do this.
Right.
That ad is non-statutorily compliant, and all it takes is one person sending that to DOR and saying, this is Freeport's budget ad.
Okay.
Well, the moment that comes in, DOR is going to send us a nasty gram that is going to create one heck of a nightmare. And then the question is going to be, well, why'd you do that ad? And we try to go through and explain this. It's going to be so much messier than if you already know we need, if we're going to be tight, let's go to that. I would say this.
And what date do we need to move it around into?
Well, I think he's saying he keeps saying dates and
We
running
can keep the same dates.
Oh, just run it out.
in the Daily News and not do the Herald. Now, I mean, the only other option I would say is, I get it, it's putting more on staff to try to come up with those numbers. I mean, bluntly, where we have a pretty good idea. I mean, we know what the village is going to generate. We have a pretty good estimate of all other revenue sources.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, ultimately, if you think there's a little variance based on spend, which is what I'm guessing, is that what we're talking about, the expenditure number might be the difference, right?
We'll find out today, but how comfortable we are with all the numbers, but it's just that if there is something that should occur, every day something comes up, and if we needed to change the numbers, that's when it gets tight, because we wouldn't know until the 9th.
Ballpark, we have these,
Yeah, we have
what is our expenditure budget
Yeah.
outside of large capital projects?
Yeah.
Ballpark,
Ballpark, about 30 million.
I mean, pick a tolerance threshold you're comfortable with tonight, council. Is it 1%, $300,000? I mean, y'all talk through it, but what I would tell you is pick a tolerance threshold, tell Bruce to build that into what the advertised number is. We're gonna have to do budget amendments anyway. We know we're gonna have to do that. And that way you can go ahead and run it into Harold if that's where you prefer to run it. If not, just wait till he gets the numbers and run it in database. If the concern was, we thought we were gonna have a budgetary shortfall due to revenue, we had a revenue estimating issue, I'd be a lot more concerned. But if it's on our expenditure issue, and all right, we're gonna move 10 here, we're gonna move 40 there, I mean, how long is it gonna take to get to a sizable number off a $30 million darn capital budget? I mean, heck, $50,000 might cover it, but I would just do it in the as we do.
Okay.
If you really think that's a question, that's what I would recommend. I think that makes the most sense. And I think that gives us the best option. We have had to do it before. It has to be posted on the website. You can do it, but I just don't think that ad in the Daily News or in the Herald saying, go here, is going to do anything but create statutory.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll go with that plan then. Okay, and now to go back into the summary of the changes, looking at the departmental highlights, we had discussions around the staff positions and the highlights, and so we've aligned that with all the salary files, so that's fully aligned now. We also talked after the meetings, there's more discussion when we look further at the build out after Chelco leaves. There's some thoughts that maybe some additional computer replacements and upgrades would be needed in utility billing, so we've added that small amount, $7,500. Looking at the R&M for city roads, that increased by $100,000. That's based on what the estimate's coming in at for 4 Mile Road. And so we thought that the cost continues to increase on highways. We may need to put in an additional $100,000 for that. The Highway 20 resurfacing, that one really came as a surprise. We had been receiving a $200,000 estimate, and then when we saw last week, that is now up to 575.9. So we need to put another 375.9 thousand into the budget for that. Highway 20 turn lanes, we've kept it in there at $750 per lane. We know that they mentioned it might be higher. We might be able to negotiate something lower than what the state's about to pay. But I've left in at $750. But if you want to put it in higher, we can do so.
I think we need to go higher.
Go higher?
We want to make sure we've got our part covered based on what they said.
Okay.
Did they say 2.5 million was what they thought when we had put 2.25 in there? Was that right?
Right.
So we need another $225,000.
Yeah, you could like
250,
$875 per. Yeah. Okay, we'll put it in there for that then. Okay.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying, Bruce, was your numbers are right on what Ollie Howe estimated,
Right.
but the total cost, they said, would be closer to 2.5 than 2.25. To Councilman Hafner's point, rather than increase by 125, she's saying go ahead and increase it by 250 to cover what they said. That would not be another budget.
Sure.
Right.
Because that's the difference, what's on your sheet versus what's said.
Okay. All right, the one change in the parts, the batting cages increased by 10K. We're expecting to do that by 9:30, so it won't be in the budget. We're going to finish that in time for the workshop. But that's due to a larger footprint of the batting cages, so that did go up from 15 to 25. The community center, we had talked about it before, we created a separate budget grouping just so that we can start tracking the very specific costs related to the community center. We can track the revenue, we can track the cost specifically to the community center and start watching how well that's doing. On water, we received a report back from the engineer that we need to include $180K for the monitoring well that will have to be added. So we've added the $180K to the 3280 well elevated tank. It might be able to negotiate lower, but that's his higher end, so we put that 180 into it. Okay. The revenues and expenditures, again, when we look at the files, again, most of those items that we just talked about are the real highlights of the changes. Everything else looks about the same. Again, the revenue numbers are subject to change. We know the DOR is updating their estimates now. Then on salaries and benefits, we want to talk about some of the key impacts of the defined contribution, the total compensation package, and the fiscal year 25-26 increases. And that's kind of a summary of what we want to look at. And then we'll obviously, anytime throughout, look for direction that you may have for us in making any updates or go back and challenge anything else. So with that, I'm going to just leave it up to you as far as in discuss. Well, I would like to go to summary info if I may before I do this. That's on the tab summary info, the first page there. That is updated, looking at the revenue and expenditures, not counting inter-fund transfers, so that way we can just look at raw spend going out of the city. And what we have there is we have a total revenue estimated about 43.8 for the city, with an expenditure of 44. Both of those went up from last year budget, 12 million and 13 million. And that's primarily due to all the spend we're going to have on the streets. The turn lanes, the Marquee Way East and West, and that's most of that spend is coming from that. The revenue is coming in because we have more grants associated with that, but the spend is also up because of the streets. And otherwise, we're pretty flat from when you look at each of the departments, other than all that street spend, we're pretty flat among all of the departments. So unless you want to go into any details of any of the files, we can go on any line item. We discussed it in more detail last time, and I just highlighted the things that have changed. And so I would suggest that we go to the salary discussion, unless you have this, and you want to discuss anything on the revenues and expenditures. Okay. All right. Well, with salaries, we put together. There was a lot of discussion after our last workshop. So we put the sheet out here on the first sheet underneath the salary tab, is to kind of highlight what the city has done to help the employees. The big thing is around the defined contribution. That's increased this year by $65 a month. That amounts to about $59,000 for the city. The defined contribution has increased 57% since fiscal year 22-23. So that is a significant contribution that the city is giving the employee in trying to alleviate the rising costs of medical care. And our insurance brokers have told us they don't see that defined contribution anywhere. They said the city has a great defined contribution.
Yeah, 250 clients statewide, we're the only ones who do that.
That's right.
And so we're also looking at the total compensation package, which includes not just the gross pay, but all the benefits that are associated with it.
Right.
And when you look at that, it's an average of 44%. The benefits being the FRS contribution that the city makes, as well as the insurance benefits, is 44% of gross pay. So it's a significant amount to the employee. And then also in, last year, we're reminded that in fiscal year 25-26, everyone received a $44 an hour increase, which that's a range from 7 to 25% increase. It averaged 19%. So the recommendation is going with a 3% flat. That kind of normalizes that large increase last year and actually positions us better to be prepared for the potential property tax impact. Instead of getting so far up and then we have to make a huge cut again. So with the 3% flat, the total compensation package would be the $6.9 million. And that's an increase over do nothing. That's an increase of $194,000 that the city will pay. And that's basically the 2.9% increase for the employees.
That's great.
I'm satisfied with the 3%, are y'all?
I am too.
I had heard that some of the department heads came back and they were not happy with it at all, but I think it's a lot better than no percent, because I was almost at that point when I heard that. I was very, very upset when I heard that that wasn't good enough for some, so I just want that to be on the record. But I'm happy with that 3%.
I don't know anybody, any other government pays when we do this stuff out either, so.
I don't either.
I didn't realize what we did until Bruce
Right.
came up with it.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something we haven't really talked about, but in talking with Chris, that's something that, we'll share with the employee, that this benefits package is significant. And in my prior experience, I've seen 20-30%. I've never seen 44%. That's
I just don't know if they don't understand, but maybe somebody can let them know that we're doing everything we can on this side.
Okay. Any questions on anything? If you want to go over any of the projects or any detail, you're welcome to do that. I don't want to take us into something that, you're quite comfortable with, but I'll leave that up to you.
Where are the Christmas decorations at? That's what I'm looking for. Increase that or anything.
We left that at 40,000 for admin and 40,000 for the park, and that includes the barrier-free decorations. I think we have like 10,000 allotted for barrier-free, so 40,000 for the parks, and then for the citywide, it's another 40. We had talked about looking at next year and decreasing it to around, say, 20 or so, but we did not change that at this point.
I had a little bit of blowback on that. I had some people call me and say, that's what I make a year, it's $40,000. So that's a slap in my face. And that's exactly how they took it. When they saw that was advertised for the budget, that we're spending $80 grand on Christmas decorations, they couldn't understand it, and I really couldn't explain it either, so.
To say that I get a different feedback, which I did explain to people to come next year, we
Yeah.
would be reducing it.
Yeah.
This year, trying to still replace, trying to add. And there's a lot of people, they let me know, they appreciate what we're doing with our decorations. I'd like to be able to leave it here and wait till next year and then reduce it down.
And maybe we'll, and maybe we'll even get to the point where we can reduce it even more
Yeah.
if we can, try to work on our preservation of our current decorations. I don't know how we're storing them. I don't know, if we're taking good care of them, hopefully they will last longer once we've replaced everything.
I'm gonna bring up something there since we're talking about it. That's one thing that we did talk with Brett about. Our stuff needs to be in a climate controlled area. For Christmas decorations, right now, we don't have anything in a controlled area.
Oh, then that's it.
Where are they?
Where are they?
So we're at the old city hall.
Where are they?
Where they at?
They're stored at the water department.
Does it have air conditioner in there? No, not where they're at.
And what I've talked to several people, and they've let me know that these Christmas decorations or anything, they need to be stored in a climate control area. Because if
I
not,
agree with
they're
them.
not gonna last.
I
Just
agree
like
with you.
with our sound system and all
Yeah.
that we bought, everything needs to be in a climate controlled area. Or either, we're gonna be looking every year having to keep doing something, and we shouldn't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something I did talk to Mark about, I talked to Red.
Yeah.
We need to look at coming up with something, if we have to come up with something that we can put out there, a sewer plant, there's plenty of property out there, but where everything's together.
Yes.
Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Paul's gonna be the Christmas core business.
But if we don't do something,
Right, we're just.
it's going to.
Yeah, because it will deteriorate in the heat, that makes sense, why we've had to replace, because I've kind of felt, you know, about it too, but I remember you saying it was not really for City Hall, it was barrier free, and then plus some for here, and then plus some for trucks, so it becomes way down.
Yeah,
But I can understand why we're replacing more because of the heat.
yeah.
It's
For the
hurting.
heat, the humidity in these buildings.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
it's
sure.
phenomenal.
It makes sense, I mean, that makes a lot more sense,
So
so
I would like to see.
I would like to see a solution for that too. Climate
Mark
controlled space.
can come up with something. Or we'll take it to your house.
Yeah. Okay,
That's just,
that makes me, yeah, I understand. Okay.
anything else, Bruce?
No, we didn't make any changes other than those things that we highlighted, so we talked about the other things in more detail last time. But I'm open for anything you have.
No, I'm good, I think we've done a great job.
Any comments? Meeting adjourned.
Thanks.
No, that's good.